I take a look at the amazing penultimate episode of Star Trek Lower Decks with not one, but 5 legacy character guest stars in this episode. Amazing. Well, hey everyone, I'm Nick and welcome back to Sci-Finatics. Well, Episode 9 of Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5, the second last episode of the entire series, and wow. Did we think we were getting just one guest star with the appearance of Harry Kim, which we kind of knew was coming from the various trailers and everything that came out? But did we think we were going to get 5 legacy actors reprising their roles as classic Star Trek characters? No, we did not, and what a treat this was. We obviously got Garrett Wang reprising his role as Harry Kim, multitudes of Harry Kims in this episode. We got Andrew Robinson reprising his role of Garak from Deep Space Nine, which was amazing. And we got Alexander Siddig as Dr. Julian Bashir in this episode. Alfred Woodard reprised her role as Lily Sloan from Star Trek First Contact. And more amazingly, Jolene, formerly Jolene Blalock, but now just credited as Jolene, reprised her role as T'Pol in this episode. I had completely closed the door on any possibility of Jolene returning to reprise her role as T'Pol in Star Trek, but I guess miracles do happen. So what an amazing array of stars from T'Pol, Garak, Bashir, Harry Kim, Lily Sloan. What an amazing appearance in this second last episode of Lower Decks. Now this episode starts in the Prime universe with a bit of goings on with Rutherford's implant, and Boimler has the patchy beard no more. He's got the full beard now. And Boimler kind of reminiscing about his transporter clone, Will Boimler. And that is about all we see from our Lower Deckers in the Prime universe for this episode, because we then cross galaxies to an alternate reality where we find out what transporter clone Will Boimler has been up to since he joined Section 31 way back in an earlier season, and we find out he is in fact the captain of a Defiant class ship. He's in a different quantum reality, and he has got the most eclectic crew of ex-Starfleet and Star Trek guests you could imagine. His crew is made up of T'Pol as his first officer, Curzon Dax as his tactical officer, who never died and therefore didn't pass the Dax symbiont to Jadzia, and we still have Curzon hosting the Dax symbiont in this reality. Garak as a Starfleet medical officer, and Dr. Bashir as a holographic doctor who is the partner of Garak. So in this particular universe, that bromance between Garak and Dr. Bashir became an actual romance. Actually, when I first heard Bashir speak in this episode, I actually thought there was a different voice actor doing the voice for Bashir, and it wasn't Alexander Siddig. There's something about his voice that didn't sound like Julian Bashir to me, and I thought he was the only actor that they perhaps couldn't get to do the voice. So I was actually quite surprised in the end credits when I saw that Alexander Siddig had in fact done the voice for Bashir, because something that wasn't quite right about it for me. I wonder if anybody else had that thought. Not to mention the multitudes of Harry Kims that have been saved from different realities and everything else. I mean, let's face it, we probably would have been very, very happy just to have Harry Kim cameo, but such a multitude of guest stars in this episode, really, I can see they're really going out on a big bang in this final 2 episodes of Lower Decks. However, I do hope that they don't do an Enterprise finale, which is a bit of a danger when you're throwing so many high-profile Star Trek guest stars into the mix for the final 2 episodes. We obviously got a lot of Boimler and a lot of Mariner in this episodes, but they were alternate universe versions of these characters. They weren't our Boimler and Mariner. Rutherford and Tendi and T'Lyn and everybody else didn't even get a look in for this second last episode. So even though it's amazing that we got so many legacy actors in this second last episode of Lower Decks, I'm a little worried. Is it going to be a case of when Riker and Troy gatecrashed the whole Enterprise finale? And yes, it was good to see them back again, but is it also, honouring the actual actors of the actual show that we're watching, i.e. in that case, Enterprise, a lot of the characters got kind of sidelined for all the the Riker and Troy stuff, it's a little bit concerning that maybe we hope that Rutherford and Tendi and co aren't going to get sidelined for the finale, but we shall wait and see. They're obviously investigating all of these quantum fissures that have been opening up everywhere, all over the place, and that they're being caused by someone. And before long, we got a shuttle coming through the rift, which contains Mariner from an alternate universe. But in this particular universe, Mariner has a bit of a flair for the engineering side of things. She's wearing a gold uniform, and she's a bit of a grease monkey, to put Rutherford for shame. And it seems like she's got some clues as to what actually has been going on in terms of all of these different fissures opening up to different quantum realities. I love Boimler's frustration when he refers to all of the realities and all the different versions of people and everything. He's kind of well and truly sick and tired of it. It seems like he's met so many different versions of different characters and people within the Star Trek universe. It's no longer a buzz for him. It's just, a bit of a chore. I love all the Harry Kims sparring together and the comparison between the Harry Kim that's got the 2 pips, he's a full lieutenant, and all the others have still got 1 pip and they're just an ensign still. And obviously that's the clip we saw from the trailer and everything that came out, which was very funny just to see just how many Harry Kims are still kicking about as ensign. And I also love the dynamic between Curzon Dax and T'Pol in this episode. It's kind of a bit like the relationship between Sisko and Dax in DS9. They've known each other forever. There's a bit of a shorthand there. Curzon's a bit gung-ho, which we always kind of felt like he was potentially, a little bit of a loose cannon when Sisko kind of talked about all of his endeavours with Curzon Dax. But we get to actually see a bit of what Curzon Dax was all about in this episode, which was a lot of fun. It seems like Mariner has got a solution about the rift issue and who is the making of the rifts. They open up the rift and they're able to follow where the ship is coming. They do this duplicate thing, which there's a lot of technobabble in this episode where they've got to do multiple rifts to create another rift, all this sort of rift stuff going on. It's like, okay, just throw it at me. I'm not going to read too much into the technobabble, but it's all there. And I love the dynamic between the bickering married couple of Bashir and Garak in this episode as well. They're both co-medical officers in this reality. Old married couple kind of dynamic that they've got going on is a lot of fun. They find out this ship that's been opening up the rifts and everything and attack it and force it into a emergency landing, where they land on a bog planet. There's a very angry axolotl or salamander kind of race there that isn't too happy about their presence, and our crew gets captured, where we meet Lily Sloan. She's been captured too by the axolotl people. This is a character, obviously had a big part in Star Trek First Contact, was Zephram Cochrane's right-hand woman, and I honestly didn't think this was a character we would kind of ever see the light of day of again in Star Trek. Very welcome appearance by her in this episode, where wearing the Enterprise era uniform, and she holds the rank of captain, and looking a little bit older than what we last saw her in Star Trek First Contact. And it seems like they've been causing the rifts, but it hasn't been a malicious thing. Their mission within Starfleet is to explore quantum realities. Rather than exploring strange new worlds, they're crossing galaxies to learn of human capabilities, what humans are capable of, how they can improve themselves, and all the different things that humans have achieved over multitudes of different universes, which is, I guess, a noble quest, but unfortunately they were unaware that their journeys were doing damage to other universes. They escaped captivity. Curzon fights his way away from the axolotl people, but gets wounded in the process. And it seems like Harry Kim is not particularly happy about all these ensign Harry Kims, that Harry Kim has been hardly done by his whole career. He hasn't been appreciated, has never been promoted, so damn it, Lieutenant Harry Kim is going to steal the ship and take all the Harry Kims back to his reality where they'll be a bit more appreciated. Curzon is mortally wounded, and we get a nice little scene between Curzon and T'Pol there, where even though there's no host available to accommodate the Dax symbiont, T'Pol is going to take the katra of all the different Dax symbionts and store them in her big Vulcan brain until they're able to transfer them, I guess, into a new host and symbiont, I suppose. Harry Kim's ship is destroyed, but the resulting damage is doing catastrophic damage to all of the different universes. And they have to divert the energy to somewhere in order for it to dissipate to save all of the different quantum realities. Captain Boimler suggests they use his universe that he came from, which is obviously our prime universe with the rest of the Cerritos crew and everything, because he's confident that they'll be able to come up with the solution to solve the problem. But Boimler receives the message and he does the Boimler panic. He's screaming his head off. They're all going to die, and he's absolutely crapping himself, which is, you know, typical Boimler routine. Thought this episode was great. You know, every minute was a joy, just hearing these characters reprise their old roles from their various different Star Trek series, and hope we get a really big banger finale, but not at the expense of our primary cast. As I mentioned at the start of this video, yeah, I loved seeing 5 legacy characters return to Star Trek, but I just hope it's not going to be a return of the Enterprise finale where it was at the expense of the other characters in the show, which is always a bit of a danger when you throw so many big guest stars into the mix for the last episode. But what did you guys think? Did you like this second last episode of Star Trek Lower Decks? Leave your thoughts in the comment section and we'll get chatting about that. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, be sure to click on the subscribe button and the notification bell as well. And also check out my merch in the merch store. Plenty of cool t-shirts, much like this one. Star Trek themed, sci-fi themed, always at a very reasonable price. Coffee mugs and hoodies and caps and stickers and everything as well. Pick something up and it really helps support the channel. I'll be back very soon with my next video. I'll catch you guys then.